So today we're gonna create this simple yet goals-oriented portfolio website. Simply the main goal of a portfolio website is to sell your knowledge to the world. So for this reason you need to be really careful what you're putting into your portfolio. And YouTube is filled with the portfolios that has too much animations, too much text, and unnecessary sections in general. And usually a few highly personalized sections is all you need to land that job. So not only your new portfolio website will be built with modern tools, it will have most necessary sections according to user experience for you to land that job. So let's review what we will build. We will start with hero section. Here is very important. I'm starting to personalize already here. So I'm presenting myself with my name and image. Also, in few sentences, I am adding the most important information about myself. Next, I have about me section, and here I personalize it even more. So I have a moment from my family life, and on the right side, I have more text about what I like to do in life. So like hobbies or how I learn programming, how long I do it, and so on. Skills section will not only show that you are able to learn skill, but also how many skills you are mastered. So here is important not to put too many and not too little. In my case, I added 6 skills, but I think it's safe to even double it. And next is experiences section. So hear me out here. If you are applying to an e-commerce job, it would help you very much if your experiences are related to e-commerce. If you don't have that experience, no worries. If you have other experience. If you don't have experiences at all, just add freelance column. Add that you freelance for half a year or 1 year. It doesn't matter. And next is work section. So very similar to experiences, we have to provide our best work in the work section. So put all the projects you are proud of, and also don't add too many projects. In our case, we're gonna add a nice mockup of the project, so that's responsive, here title, here short description, and technologies used for the project. In contact section, the main goal is to contact us, so it should be easy. In the end, we will create a simple footer, and then we will go to our navigation, which will be responsive. So it will include the links, so it is easy to find the information needed for the employer, and then download CV button. Lastly, I can promise that you will learn 1 or 2 things during this project-based video tutorial. So the project is mobile first, fully responsive, and created with the most trending tech in the job market right now. And if you like this project-based video tutorial, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment. I'm very responsive to comments. Okay, and I will stop yapping now and let's just move to code. Of course, first thing I want to do is to create our project. So let's find terminal. And then I will target desktop. So cd desktop. Now I'm in the desktop and I will make my desktop even more crazy. So to create a new project, type npx create next app. Now we'll choose a name, next portfolio. Now we'll get some options what we want to be included in our boilerplate. So for TypeScript, I will say yes, I want it. For ESLint, yes. For Tailwind, of course. For source, no. App router, yes. We will build with app router modern NextJS app. And for last question about import aliases, no. So while it is installing, we can pray that our app will be successful and at least 2 people will come to it. Okay, now we can target our folder with cd next portfolio, so the name of our folder created. And now if I type code and dot and I am lucky, it should open VS Code. So now what I want to do is to do some basic cleanup. So what I always do, go to globals, and in globals CSS, I just remove default styles, but keep Tailwind imports. And in layout, I will change the title. So Stashy codes, and here I will say Stashy codes portfolio. Now I want to change default font. So in NextJS it's pretty simple. So I will use Open Sans for this project. So import Open Sans. So instead of inter here, I will change to open_sans. Let's change name for it. Also Open Sans, and change in the body class name. Good. So now we have Open Sans font family by default. Now let's go to page. So this is our home page, and I will basically delete everything inside here and just leave main. Also delete import. Good, gonna close these all files. Now I will copy some base styling for my texts. So this basic styling you will find in the GitHub boilerplate. Also, I will delete public folder and replace with my own. So in the public folder, I will have all the assets needed for the project. So basically images. Images also you will find in the base boilerplate. Now let's open terminal and try to start the project. Type npm run dev. So after opening the project in localhost, I see that project is working, but it's empty. So for this, we can go to main and type hello world. Now we are sure that it actually works. So we did basic setup part. We're gonna come back later to it, but this is all we need for the start. So now we can go and create our first components and sections. So first now I want to go and create our first section, which will be hero section. And for that I want to create a folder inside app, and I want to wrap it in parentheses and call it home. So this will let me move our page, which is home page, to the home folder. And now inside this folder I can have everything associated with this home page. So for example, I will have modules, and inside modules I will have all the sections needed for the home page. Also, I can have components folder. So this components folder will include the components needed for the home page specifically. So for example, if I know that component will be used around many pages, I would create a folder outside app components and put the components here. But for now I will delete it. We will come to it back later. And here inside modules, let's create hero.tsx. Here I will use a snippet called rafc, and it will give me base component for hero section. So I will wrap it inside section. So for section I will use py8, and then for md I will use py16. So this will give some vertical padding. So on mobile we're gonna use vertical padding of 8, which equals to 2 rems and 32 pixels, and then double on large size. So by default these days is normal to build mobile first and then to change the style so it looks good for desktops and tablets, because users of most apps comes through mobiles these days. Okay, so next I want to have div and class of container, and then mx auto, which will center the container, and default padding of 4, which will be horizontal padding of 1 rem or 16 pixels. Now I will have a div which will have a class name of grid, then grid calls 1 means that on mobile it will be 1 column, and on medium-sized screens it will have a bit custom sizes. So I will open the brackets. So first will be 1 fraction, and then underscore for second block, and for second block the size will be 24 rems. So this will be the size of my image basically. Then I will have gap of 4, which will add some spacing between my elements, and then I will have more gap on large screens. So here I know that I will have 2 blocks, so I will create 2 divs. Let's add some separation. Let's add this hero section to our page so we can see what we are doing. Let's import the hero section. And we don't see anything because we didn't write any text or have images. So let's do that. First I will have h1, which will have class name. I will give some margin bottom 4, and then text green 500. Here I will write hi, I am Antanas, and then a simple emoji. Next I will have paragraph. This paragraph will be of color text neutral 700, and then margin bottom will be 8. And here I will just copy text. So I have some bold tags which boldens the text, and then I have some breaks, which means that it opens space between the text. Under paragraph I will have a block which will tell about my location and status if I'm open to work. So div class name space y2, it will add some vertical spacing between elements, and then margin bottom of 8. Okay, so first div will be of flex items center and gap of 4. Inside I will have image. Let's import it from next image. This is image that will be optimized by NextJS and is much better than just simple image element. So source will be location.png, and then width 24 and height 24. Let's add alt to it, location. Under that, just simple p tag and Vilnius, Lithuania. Okay, now we can now we'll add very similar block. So let's copy this one, and here we're gonna just change the first element. So remove the image, and then create simple div, and then in the class width of 4, height of 4, rounded full. This will make our div fully circle, and then background green 500. Let's change width to 6, also height to 6, and here change text to open for work. Now I will collapse this div which have spacing for our created elements, and just below I will create another div which will have links. So it will be also flex, also item center, and we'll have gap of 4. Here we will start with anchor element href. Let's leave it empty for now, and then target will be equal to underscore blank. This means that the link that we will add over here will be added in the new browser tab. Then inside I will add image source. This will be linkedin.png, alt linkedin. Good, so we have our first link, and let's copy this one and paste it 2 times. Next will lead to YouTube, and then last link will lead to GitHub. So since this link with image is very repetitive, we can create a component for it. So I will copy it and go to components that we created, and I will call social media link. Here we'll create a simple component. We'll copy the thing that we, I will paste the thing that we copied. Here I will pass source. So let's define type for source, which will be equal to string. Alt just can be basic social media icon. And here, let's change it to source. Now we can go back and try to use it. Social media link, and if we add source, so LinkedIn PNG, let's delete this one, and looks like it works fine. So now we can copy this 2 times. Let's change this to YouTube and this to GitHub. Let's remove these ones. And yeah, just like that, our code looks much better now. Now we can go to our second div, and here will be image with source hero.png, alt hero, and here I will use sizes, which will be 100 view width, which will mean that image will scale accordingly to the screen. For this I have to define width and height, so it will be 0. We forgot slash. And now inside class name we have to define width full and then height out. Okay, looks like it's not PNG but JPEG. Okay, so now we have an image. Let's add some rounded corners, so rounded LG, and yeah, okay, good. For the parent element I want to add relative class, and here I will create a div which will have class of absolute, then full height, then full width, background green 500, will be rounded LG, will be top 4 and left also 4, z index will be -1, and then will be hidden by default on mobiles and then visible as block on large screens. So let's close it and let's see. So on desktop we will have this green background. So now one thing I want to do. So on desktop I want this image to be on the right side, but on mobile I want it to be at the top. So how do we achieve it? So I will go back to code. I will find the first div, close it, second div, close it. So now for first div I want to add class name of order 2. So this means that our first div on mobile will be second, and then on large screens it will be order 1. Good. So now we see that image is at the top on mobile, and which is good. But if we go back on desktop, the image will scale to the block and will be on the left side, and we don't want that. So for this we need to change the second div class name. So let's go to second div, and here we do the opposite. So on large screens the order will be 2, and then by default the order will be 1. So order class basically helps us to switch elements pretty easily. One more thing I want to do is to open second block, and inside image I want to add priority. So an explanation for this is that by default NextJS doesn't know when to load our images. So by priority we're letting NextJS know that this image is important, and this image is important because it is in the viewport. So when your website has a visitor, so NextJS serves this image faster than all others. Now we'll group the imports, move React to the top. So one more thing I want to do is to add item center to the grid. Center. So So on desktop, our items now are centered. So good, we have a simple hero section. Now we created a first section. So first component that is associated with homepage, and we use grouping functionality provided by NextJS. We also used responsive NextJS image, also used priority prop, which is very nice to know, and of course used order class name, which is very handy to know for because many modern designs uses shifting layouts on mobile and desktops. So this is very good to know. Now we can move to another section, and let's call it about me, TSX. Let's start with section as always, and PY8, and on medium and large screens will be PY16. And if you remember, in hero section we had the same section. So now we can go and create a component. So let's go to components and create a component called section, and I will have a prop of children and class name. So let's define types for them. So children will be react.react node, and then class name will be simply a string. Now let's return section. So for class name, curly brackets, and then I will have a template literal inside, so I'm using backticks. So we define our default paddings, so PY8 and MD PY16, and then in template literal we will have our class name prop, and now we can close it and have children inside. So now we can reuse the section over here. Oops. And we can go to hero section and also replace section with section component. And now we get an error, and if we go back we can see that class name prop is always required, but it shouldn't be. So to make it optional, add question mark near class name. And now the error is gone, so you can go to about me section, and here we will add container. So class name container, center it with MX Auto and add default padding. And now the same for container. If you go to hero section, we see the same class name. So what I will do, I will go to section. Now I will copy it and paste it. Rename to container. Here also rename to container. Here I will change to div and change class name. So it will be container MX Auto by default, and we'll have horizontal padding of 4. Now we can go back to about me section and replace it with container from our components. And also now we can go to hero section and put our container component here. Good. Now let's add this section to page about me. Oops. And now in about me section, for container I want to add additional class name, and on large screens I want it to be of max width of 6XL. This is equal to 1152 pixels. And now I want to have title, which will be H2. Text will be centered, color text green 500, and then margin bottom 8, And then on medium and large screens will be margin of 12. We'll call it about me. Just below I will have a div which will be grid, and grid calls one on mobile, so one column again. And then on large screens we'll have a grid calls two, so on large screens 2 columns. We'll add some spacing between, so gap 6, and then much bigger gap of 24 on large screens. So again, we will have 2 divs, so basically 2 blocks. Let's add spacing between. So for first div I will add relative class name. Then inside I want to make an empty div and then style it. So it will be absolute, width full, height full, top 4, left 4, rounded, then background green 500. Then Z index will be 0, hidden by default on mobile and visible on large screens. This will be a div for a background, a green background, like we have in hero section. Now I want to go to section and also add additional class name. So I want to add background. It will be background neutral 950, and then text white. So all our text inside section will be white unless we define it differently inside class name. So here we define green one, so the title is green, but by default it will be all white. Now I want to add image. So again, image from next. So about.jpg, alt about. And instead of defining sizes like we did in hero section, we can just use layout responsive and then add width 0 and height 0. Now we have our picture. Also, we can add class name of rounded LG, so we have rounded corners. Now we can go to hero section and change this. So from this to layout responsive. And now we can change these parameters. Okay, good. Let's go back to about me section. So for image, I want to add relative class z index of 10, then border of 8, and then border white. So now on mobile image looks like this with this nice white border, and on desktop image looks like this with this beautiful green background. And this is because we added z index for image and then defined z index of 0 for the green block. So it means that it knows that it should be behind it, so behind the main image. Now I want to add some text into our second div. So title will be h4, margin bottom 4. Call it get some insights into my life. Now I will just add some text. And now last paragraph. So we have our text. All this text you will find in the boilerplate, or just use ChatGPT for random text. Now, as you remember, we added links here and created separate component for each of them. Now what I want to do is to add these in this section, but as you see they are black. So in this black section they will not be visible, so we'll need to think something. So under paragraph I will create a div which will be flex item center, justify center. So on medium screens our links will be from the left side, and on mobile it will be on the center. So gap 4 for some spacing. Now we can add our 1x1 link. Good, and as you see they are not visible. So what we can do is to go back. So we can add some background, green 500, and then let's add padding of 2. Let's make them rounded. So now we have these icons, and if we go here we also have background here, but I want these icons not to have background and these icons to include background. So what I will do, I will add one more prop, call it has background, and then has background, it will be boolean. So by default it will be false, and now curly brackets class name, if has background will be true, will provide this class name, and if not, just empty string. Also let's make it optional, and let's go to our about me section. So now I will select multiple components with option and click. I will add space and will add has background, which now is true, and this means that these icons will have a background and these icons will not. So I will add some margin top for this whole icons container. Let's add of 4, and actually let's keep them on the side. So just gonna remove justify center. Let's add a bit more margin top. Okay, so this is how it looks on mobile, and this is how it looks on desktop. And yeah, time for a new section. So I will close all our files, we'll go to app, home, modules, and create a new section. So skills.tsx, rafc, and now we can reuse our section component. Inside we can have our container. For container we will have additional class name, which will only be LG max width of 6 pixels on large screens. Then I will have a title, which will have margin bottom of 8, and then on medium we'll have margin bottom 12. Then text will be center and green 500. So we'll call this section skills. Next I will have div with class name grid. So grid calls 3. So by default will be 3 columns on mobile. And then on medium we'll have grid calls of 6 and gap of 8. Now I want to create an array with our items, and I will do below skills component. So I will just call it skills. So I will have image source and then name of the skill. So the image source will be skills and then .png and then name Java script. Of course we need to wrap it inside objects. So let's copy this object 5 more times. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have my array, and I will go back inside grid. I will map my skills array. So inside I will have key, which will be equal to skill name, and then class name will be flex. The flow will be column flow. So for this flex call, then items center, and again gap of 2. Let's close the div. So inside I will have image, the source skill.image source, and then width, let's give it 84, and then height also 84. Let's give it alt skill name. And then below the image we will have paragraph with class name text bold, which will make text bold, text Excel, text neutral 700, and just text center, and skill name here. Let's add this section to our home page, and let's see how it looks. So this is how it looks on mobile, and this is how it looks on desktop. So next thing I will do, I will create this experiences section. So let's close the skills section, and let's go to modules and create experience.tsx, create basic component, and as always import section. This section will be black, so background neutral 950, and then text white for a whole section. Also container. Also to container I will add class name. On large screen I want it to be max width of 6XL. Now I want to have a div that will wrap my title and subtitle. So div will have margin bottom of 8. And then inside I will have h2, and here as always text will be green 500 and margin 4. Let's call it experiences. Then below paragraph with class name text. No, here class name is not needed. I will copy text here. On this parent div, I will add text center. And now I want to create an array with some data that we will map. So now I created this experiences data, and it includes image, title, bullet list, and date. So now we'll map this experiences data. So just below this div, experiences map xp, and then open brackets, and now I will create a div. Let's add key to it, title, and now bear with me because the class name will be very long. So grid calls 1 on mobile, and grid calls on medium will be custom sized. So I want first block to be 30%, second block 50%, and then 20% for last block of width. And items has to be centered, background will be white, then rounded corners LG. Let's add some shadow to our whole block, and then on MD the gap will be 12, by default gap will be 6, border width will be of 8, border green 500 will be border color. Also I want to add some margin bottom, so on MD will be 8, and then by default will be 4, and then padding 4 for both mobile and large screens. Now inside first div will be flex, items center, then justify start by default, and then on medium justify center. Inside I want to have next image, so it will be source exp image, then alt experience, let's call it. So layout will be responsive, then class name will be rounded. Also let's add width of 0 and height of 0. Let's have our second div, and second div will include title. Title will have margin bottom of 4, so here will be exp title. And now let's have ordered list. So for this, to add bullets to our list, we have to add list disk. Also, let's go to page and add our section. Good. Now we can take exp bullet list map. So bullet, and now let's return list item, add key to it, and then inside I want to have a paragraph, and for this paragraph I will add class of text LG, so it will make my text larger. And then bullet inside. Now just below this div we will create our third and last div with paragraph inside. Let's add class name to it. It will be text LG, and then let's change color a bit to neutral. Now we'll have exp.date. So let's see how it looks. Okay, I added image, and now it looks like our text is by default white. So let's remove it from the whole section and add to the text container text white. Good. Let's add maximum height to image. I want to add some spacing between these texts. So I will go to ordered list class name and add space Y. So on vertical axis spacing of 1. Let's see how it looks on desktop. So on desktop it will include bullet points, and on mobile it will not. So now just like that we have experiences section. Now I will go and create this beautiful work section. So I will close experience and go to modules and create work component. So as always we start with section, then container. Let's add this work section to our page. And now we can start adding things. So first will be div with class name of text center and then margin bottom of 8. So here we'll add our title and subtitle. So title h2 class text green 500 and then margin bottom 4. So call it work. Then subtitle will be paragraph class. No, actually don't need any class. So I will copy the text. Under the div, I want to create another div with class space y4. And then on large screens, I want a bigger spacing, so space y6. Now I will create a work data array. So now I have my array. It will include image, title, description, which is a fragment with a few breaks and text, and then tag used for the project. So here will be image, here will be title and our text and tag used. So now we can go inside this div and map our array. So inside we'll have a div. Let's add key, work item, title. And then class name will be grid. Grid calls 1, md grid calls 2. So some shadow LG will be rounded, and let's add overflow hidden. Let's close the div. Now first div will be image, so relative, background neutral 100, and now inside we can add next image, so source will be work item image, so layout responsive again, then width 0 and height also 0. Let's add alt, work image. We have something already. So below image div, I will add another div which will be responsible for the texts. So div class name p4, and then on medium will be p of 12. For some reason my divs are not closing. So h4. Class name will be mb4, and then work item title. Just below we'll have paragraph with our description. So text neutral 700, then max width large, and then margin bottom 4. Work item description. Below paragraph I will have div which will have class of flex wrap, and then gap of 4. Text will be white, and also will have max width LG. Now inside we will map work item tag used. So tag And now inside we'll have a div. So px2, py1 will be rounded, and we'll have background green 500. And then let's add key to it, just there. And inside div I will have paragraph, which will have class name and text sm. And now inside I can add tag. And it looks like that. So now on mobile it looks good, but on desktop I want to change it a bit. So I want on desktop this image to be on the right side and text on the left side. And then on mobile fall back to the left side and then text on the right side. But how do I achieve that? So to achieve this result, let's select our return value here. Let's delete this parenthesis and open curly brackets, make return and paste the output. And here let's add index. So now I need to check if it is second item. So is second item, and then y strictly equal to 1. So now I will go to first div of image div. So copy class name, open curly brackets, backticks, paste the default value, and now template literal, and I'm gonna check if it is second item. I will add class for MD screens of order 2, and else will be empty string. So now if we see on desktop it is on the right side, and on mobile it is at the top as we want it to be. So I noticed that we have one issue, and the issue is that layout prop on next image is now legacy, so we kind of cannot use it. So to fix that, I will find all images and fix those images that uses layout responsive. Here I need to change layout to sizes 100 viewport and add height of auto and width of full. Do the same here. Size. And now we don't get this error anymore. Now we're gonna add one of the more simple sections, contact section. So let's go and create contact.tsx. Let's add it to page. Start with section, then container. We're gonna add class name to section, so it will have background neutral 950, and then text white by default. Then container will also have a class, and it will be max width large, so it will be small container basically. And also we will center our content inside container, so we can start from title. TailwindCSS 500 MB4. Call it contact me. Let's add subtitle. We'll have margin bottom of 8. We'll copy text. Now we'll have a div with contacts. So it will be flex. by default will be flex column flow direction, then item center, so we center it horizontally, and then gap 4. Here we will have 2 divs, so 2 blocks, another one, and class name flex, items center, and gap of 4. So we'll have our social media link as the first one. So first will be mail.png and has background prop will be true. And the next we will have anchor element with href, and to send mail directly we can add mail to, and now we can put the email that we want. So I'll put mine. Inside I will have h4, and here as a text I will just have email. And we have this kind of stuff. So if we click, we can see that it opens and it sends the email. So basically now we can copy this div and paste instead of this one. But now I want to change mail to tell. So now here we can use our phone number, and here also. Oops. So let's change this icon to telephone. So this is how it looks on mobile, and this is how it looks on desktop. So if you open mail, it will try to send mail, and if you open second one with mobile phone, it will try to open Skype. Last thing we want to do is create a footer, and since footer is something we could use around many pages, so I will create global components folder, and here I will have footer. So we'll have very simple footer. So footer, class name, py will be 4, then background neutral of 100, text neutral 800, and then text center. Inside we'll have container, and inside container I will have a simple paragraph, class name text will be extra small, font semi bold, and then text neutral 800. Actually we can remove this from here and text center from here. Let's close it. Now we can go to layout, and here just below children let's add footer. Let's add eta, and let's add dynamic new date. So new date, and then get full year. And just some simple text. Let's see what we have now. Also we can center text in our paragraph. And just like that we have very simple footer. And now finally we're gonna start creating our navigation. But first thing we want to do is to move container and section from homepage components folder to just components folder. Okay, good. Yeah, let's close everything. Now inside components I will create navigation, and it will be folder because it will include desktop navigation and mobile navigation and also some components. Now inside components I want to create logo component. So very simple logo component. Let's import image from NextJS. then source will be logo.png, alt logo, then width will be 40, height the same, and then class name will be rounded to have some rounded corners. Let's change imports. One more component I want to create is of course button. So let's start with button element. Class name will be background neutral 950, so black background. Text will be white, rounded corners, vertical padding 2, horizontal padding 4, text medium size, and then inside we will have anchor element again, href, let's keep it empty for now, and then download will be the name of your resume basically. Let's add class name, so text will be white, and then no underline, so it removes the underline, and text will be download CV, just like that. Also, I want to pass all default button attributes to button. So interface, call it button props, and then extends React button HTML attributes, and then HTML button element. And now React function button props. Now I can access REST here, and I can pass the REST to the button element. So now the button will be able to accept default button props like on click, disabled, and other attributes. Let's say if we go to page and just add button over here. So now we can pass on click, disabled, and so on and so on. Let's remove import. Now we can go to navigation and create navigation desktop. So RAFC, then inside container we're gonna have div, which will be flex justify between and item center. So first we will have logo, and then we will have our button for now. Now we can go to layout, and just above children add navigation desktop. Good. So we have this navigation. Now I want to add links. So here I will define another component called links. I will paste array with links, so it basically includes our section name and then href, where it should redirect. So links will have interface, links props. Let's fix the name, interface. So first it will have optional on click, and then it will have is vertical boolean, also optional. So our links will be reused in mobile and desktop navigation, and in desktop they will be horizontally aligned, and then on mobile they will be vertically aligned. Let's add React function, then links props. Now we can destructure on click and is vertical. Now we can start with our links. So UL, then class name. By default it will be flex, and then items center and text center. And here I want to add template literal and check if it is vertical. Then I want to add additional classes. So if vertical, our flex will be column direction, and we'll have space vertical of 4. Else we will have flex row and space horizontal of 4. Now we can close our list, and now we can map our links. So first will be list item with key of link name, and here inside will be anchor element from NextJS, and href will be link href, and inside will be link.name. So here I want to add on click, and just below that I want to have another list item, and inside here it will be button, and inside button I will have on click, also on click. Actually, let's move this on click to the link. Good, so we have links that will be vertical on mobile and horizontal on desktop, which is nice. And now we can go to our desktop navigation. Just remove this button and add links. So now we have this menu. If we go to layout, let's wrap it in separate div. Here let's add some padding, py4, and then now let's make it hidden by default, and on medium and large screens it will be block by default. So now if we minimize it, it is hidden. Now one thing I want to do is to go to section and add one more prop. So it will be ID. And ID will be string. Now one thing I want to do is to go to section and add ID prop, which will be optional ID. Let's pass it here. Now I want to go to every section except hero section. So about me section will have ID of about. Then contact section will have ID of contact. Experiences will have ID of experience. Then skills will have ID of skills. And then work will have ID of work. Now we can check if it works. Good. Now, last thing, I want to create mobile navigation. So I want to install one package called React Icons. So open terminal and npm e React Icons. Good. I want to declare this component as client component. So we have to declare it in this way. Use client at the top of the component. Here we'll have a state. So is open, set is open. By default it will be false. Here I will have container. Inside we'll have a div with flex justify between an item center. And first will be logo again, and second will be simple button with on click. Now let's keep it empty. So if is open, we will use CG close icon. We can add size of 24. Else we're gonna use CY menu burger and then size of also 24. Now we can create function toggle menu, and here we just take previous state and return opposite of the previous state. So either if it's false, return true, and then if it's true, return false. Let's pass our function here. Let's go to layout. Here I want to create another div. And on MD, I want it to be hidden. Just navigation. Here, if we click our icons, it's already working, but now we need to display the menu actually. So let's go back to navigation, and just below this div, let's wrap it in curly brackets and check if it is open. Then we'll have a nav, which will be flex, justify center, make it absolute, width will be full, and for height we will use calculate function. So from 100% we will take 40 pixels, and 40 pixels simply because here we define logo as 40 pixels, so our menu is 40 pixels. So now we will put left 0, so our navigation starts from the left, then background will be white, Z index will be 10, so it's on the top of all other elements, and then padding top, let's give it 10. And inside, let's have our links component, and first we will have is vertical will be true, and then on click we'll have a function, and now we need to create this function. So it will be called close menu. So we're gonna set is open to false. Good. So let's see now how it works. Okay, so looks like it works, but the problem is that when we have the menu opened, we can scroll. So we need to disable scroll when the menu is open. For this, we're gonna use effect. So here we check if it is open. Then we take body and put overflow to hidden. So user cannot scroll. And else it is auto. And to avoid bugs when the component unmounts, we return the default value, which is auto. And dependency is open, so when the use effect should run. So when the value of is open changes, it is when we click on menu, open or close, it reacts accordingly to this logic. Here, if it's open, we cannot scroll. If we close, we can scroll. And now if we click on one of the links, it should redirect us and close the menu. I want to add some default vertical padding. So py2 for mobile navigation. But now, as you remember, we use calculate function. So since we don't have a dynamic calculation, we can take this value, and this is 8 pixels, so add 8 pixels to 40, and we will have 48 pixels. So now it calculates the height with padding and everything should be fine. So let's go to layout. I want to remove this. Go back to navigation. And here I will add MD hidden. And the same for this one. Or I will just copy this value. Go to navigation desktop, class name, back to layout, remove this. Okay. And now we have mobile and desktop navigations. I want to make a few last corrections. So go to navigation desktop, select this div and change to header. So just for SEO and accessibility reasons. And then to navigation, let's do the same instead of this div. Let's add header. Okay, good. One last thing I want to do is to go to work section. And here I want to add a link. So copy this line, title. Let's add div with class flex and justify between. And then item center. Let's close div. Add the title first. Let's add this margin to the div now. And here I want to add anchor, which will redirect to work item link that we will just add. Target will be underscore blank, so it will open in new tab. And inside we will have an icon. Let's add size 24. And now we can go to our work data and add link. So first link stash codes and second link column. So now a visitor can go and check your project. Now last thing I want to do is to deploy my project to Vercel. So for this I will go to GitHub and create new repository. So next portfolio and NextJS portfolio. In description, create repository. So copy this line, git remote add origin and link, and go back to code. Open terminal and paste it. Now we can push our code to GitHub. So GitHub, git add dot git commit -m commit. Now let's push. So for first push we have to use this line, but on the second git push will just work fine. Now we can go to our repo. Our code is pushed. Now we can go to Vercel. So if you're not signed up on either GitHub or Vercel, so just do that and you should see similar dashboards. Here on Vercel we'll press this button, add new and new project. And our first repo is visible, next portfolio, so we can click on import. Here I will use default settings and click on deploy. Now we can just wait a bit until it is deployed. And just like that, our app is deployed. Let's click on the link. And here we have our beautiful portfolio. Let's see how it looks on mobile. Also good. So thank you again for watching. Thank you very much. If you liked it, subscribe, like, comment. If you have any questions, suggestions, I'm very responsive and happy when I get feedback. So thank you again and have a nice day.